Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me again today. Let me make sure everything's all hooked up. That's the scene that I'm painting. This is me doing the painting. As you can tell from the way that I'm dressed, it's chilly today. Fall has arrived in central North Carolina. And no, I don't want to hear it from all you guys from the northern climes. I grew up north, born in Canada, raised in Michigan. I know what cold weather is, blah, 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 blah. I do know what cold weather is. And this isn't it. But you know what is funny? It's one thing to be walking through the cold, one thing to be playing in the cold, skiing, skating, as I used to do. Cross-country skiing ended up being my favorite winter sport. I loved it. Anyway, one thing to be doing all that, quite another to just be standing, more or less standing still for several hours. Woo-hoo-hoo. It's the latter of those that is the coldest. Okay, so much for complaining about cold weather. There's my initial splash, and as you can see, I've got an umbrella over me. I'm painting in several difficult circumstances here. This hit me in the head, but if I take it down, I get a whole bunch of sun on my canvas, so I'm just going to live with it. And let me turn you around and see the scene that I'm painting one more time. There it is. The skyline, one of the skyline views of Raleigh, North Carolina. I've done this view probably 5 times, something like that. I remember coming up here, 10, 11, 12 years ago, thinking surely there must be a great view of this city from up on the hill. So the hill, let me tell you where I am. First of all, Dix Hill, Dorothea Dix, has been the location of the North Carolina State Hospital, the #1 capital, #1 state hospital in North Carolina, for 100 years or more. This collar, I know I'm making noise to you there, so let me move you now. That collar's driving me crazy. It was a big political row here in the city and in the state for a number of years. The city wanted to buy, and finally did, yes, end up buying this property from the state of North Carolina. It gets really complicated. That's all I know. It gets really complicated when a municipality wants to buy property from the state. So they're paying a lot of money. They'll be paying money for 50 years or something. But it's a gorgeous property, it really is. And well, let me turn you around the other way. Okay, hang on just a second. Let me turn you around the other way so you can see some of the property. So again, I don't know how many acres, 100 acres. There's my van blocking a good view. There's still a number of offices that are in operation here at Dorothea Dix Hill, and they're all moving out. And the city is turning this into a park. Again, big political brouhaha. People angry and picketing and putting up signs on both sides of the matter. But finally, the yays won the day. And I don't know anything about the details and, whatever. But I'm personally glad. I think it was a very good long-range vision for the city to buy this beautiful property. So here I am. Okay, so I started telling you that I remember coming up here 10, 11, 12 years ago and thinking there must be a great view of the city from up here. And there wasn't. There was not a good view of the city at all. And what happened, you may ask, because I just showed you. I'll show you one more time, just for those of you who just joined me, okay? So there's the view that I'm painting. Gorgeous, eh? Nice. Let me zoom a little bit for you. There you go. Hello, Edward Bartels. Good to be online again. So there's the nice scene. And what created this scene, I ask you? It's real simple. A tornado in about, what, 2008, 9, right in there somewhere. We had a big, I mean, for North Carolina, nothing like a Kansas tornado, you understand. But we had a real tornado come through right downtown Raleigh. And one of the nice things it did, if I may be so blunt, one of the nice things it did for us artists is it blew down some really big trees. I feel bad for the trees, I really do. They were nice trees, but look at, there's still hundreds of great big towering big fat oak trees all around here. So we just lost a few of them and then created this view. And believe me, I am not the only person who has who has discovered this view since the tornadoes came through. The tornadoes of '05, '09, or what it was, something like that. Whew. There is a lot of information in this in front of me here. I mean, way too much information. Way too much information. So I'm just going to keep drawing and drawing and drawing, refining it as I go. So I say this often, that one of the key things as an artist, one of the key things you want to keep in mind is do not trust your early renderings, your early sketches. Of course, this is part of the reason why, or part of what many traditional artists, they would do all this in charcoal, right? And that's okay, and I've done that. You can find a video of me. It's fairly popular, doing a charcoal sketch underneath an oil painting. That's, it's like to say that's the way my daddy painted. That's the traditional approach to oil painting. Several problems with a gray color killer down on your canvas. The very first thing you do when you do that technique is you kill a bunch of color. And killing color, not usually a good thing in the world of oil painting. So I don't do that. I start out by drawing with color. And then in fact, these colors that I'm putting down, even though I know that many of the lines I'm putting down right now are going to end up being out of place and moved, still I'm putting interesting energy on the canvas. Interesting marks is the word I usually use for that. You follow me often, you know. It's one of my chief mantras. The essence of good painting is making interesting marks. So that's one of the criticisms I have of the traditional charcoal sketch under a painting is usually when the person is doing a charcoal sketch, they're thinking to themselves that all these marks that I'm making, they say, all these marks that I'm making right now are not going to be seen in the final painting. So it's okay if they're ugly. You follow that? And as I like to say, on your way to creating a beautiful painting, why would you take a detour through ugly? There's no need to take a detour, as I call it, through Uglyville. Don't go there. Do not create ugly on your way to beauty. No need. So that's the same criticism, by the way, I have of another traditional approach to painting, which is blocking in a painting. Now, I advocate not blocking in a painting, but blobbing in a painting. And while you are blobbing, make sure that you're making nice marks. So believe it or not, part of my thinking is, I usually put it this way, if I got run over by a truck, if I got run over by the proverbial Mack truck right now, as they were peeling my cold dead body off the pavement, I really assume none of this is going to happen, of course. I'm a good 15 feet from the road here. As they were peeling me my pieces up from the pavement, And I would say, well, golly, isn't that a shame? He had a really good painting going. Are you with me? Too bad he got killed. This painting was doing good. And that's part of the reason, of course, why I start out with these big, completely abstract swooshes. On the canvas. So I have been very busy these last couple of weeks, and some of my regular friends may be wondering, well, what happened to Dan? Why did he fall off? Well, a quick explanation. Where have I been? Because for a year and a half, I broadcasted. Broadcast is the past tense of broadcast. But if I say broadcast, you won't know that I mean past tense. So I'm going to violate the language, the rules, and say broadcasted. For about a year and a half, I broadcasted virtually every day, and I enjoyed it very much. Two things are happening. The number one is my camera broke. Very irritating. Again, if you follow me, you know I was griping and complaining for weeks about my sound, my microphone. And finally, I paid some pretty decent money for a new microphone. No sooner I get the new microphone than my Mevo camera dies. So there you go. If anybody's thinking about buying a Mevo, I would just give this one caution. Watch out. I'm not sure about the durability of the product. Turns out I am gonna. So then that threw me into weeks of investigation and research and so on. Looks like I am going to buy another Mevo camera. So partly because I know how to drive the thing and I don't have to go through a learning process. Anyway, so I've been gone because of technical problems. The other thing is I'm gone because of philosophical. I'm going to change what I do. I'm going to still be on YouTube. I would think an average of 4 times a week. So pretty much on YouTube. But I'm going to start broadcasting on Patreon. And I'm going to let those of you who want to pay me money for upgraded content. I have no idea if that'll work. There may be only 2 of you that pay me $5 a month or $2 a month, which will not make it worth my while. But anyway, I'm going to start out. As you may know, I love teaching. Would I rather paint with your company or without your company? I think the answer to that is pretty clear. I'd rather paint with your. In other words, I enjoy broadcasting so much that I do it, even if nobody's watching. That's kind of funny when you think about it, but it's true. Anyway, so some of the premium content probably, and by the way, I do have a young marketing and technical advisor helping me with all this. I just need help. I can't jump through all the technical hurdles by myself. So I have Rick. Mr. Rick is helping me. And 2 things are probably going to happen. I'm going to start a weekly Thursday night art class. Thursday night art class. That's probably what I'm going to start first. And that's going to be, it'll be announced ahead of time, specific subjects. How to paint trees, how to paint people, how to paint flesh tones, how to draw feet. Yeah, I've got a list of 100, 200 topics already. How to paint water, how to paint clouds, how to paint perspective, and so on and so on and so forth. And it'll be, most of that will take place, actually not out here in the field, so to speak. Most of that will take place in my studio, so I have a little bit better control of the video quality and so forth. So if that sounds good to you, I hope somebody out there thinks, yay, that's good. He's going to start doing better stuff, because that is indeed the hope, to start doing. Okay, I'm thinking. Let me turn you around here. So I turn you the wrong way. Here we go. That's what I'm looking at. So I'm shooting. If my camera's broken, how can I broadcast today? I'm broadcasting straight from my Android phone, and there's some good things about that, but there are several things that I do not like about that. Anyway, that's how I'm broadcasting. One of the things that's bad about that. So I want to point out that this building over here that you can barely see behind that tree, at the moment, that building is not in the viewfinder. It's not on the canvas. It would be over here, about over here if I were to do it. And I'm just feeling like, and of course I'm hoping my feelings are right. Feeling like I've got a decent composition. Now I think every other time I've done this view, I think I moved a few feet over here to the right and have included that building. But there are always buildings downtown, so other things are happening that are interesting. I think this is a good view. I hope that my client will agree with me. This is a commission painting, by the way. And I expect to be out here painting. Let me see. It's just about 1 o'clock right now. I expect to be out here painting for the next 4 hours, maybe even longer. So of course, I have taken pictures with my backup phone, my backup camera. So that's what I use this for now. And it won't be long till I'm using this primarily as reference. Hey, somebody's talking to me. Hey, Nancy Smitherman. Glad I was able to answer that question. Yes, I'm at Dorothea Dix Hill. It used to be just outside of Raleigh. Of course, it's not. It's like in the heart of Raleigh now. But it used to be outside of Raleigh. Beautiful view of overlooking downtown. Another crane. I always debate when I'm doing a painting of this city whether to include the cranes over the skyline, because a crane means another building is going up. I've lived here 29 years, and I believe there's been at least one crane over downtown Raleigh for the entire 29 years that I've lived here. Even, by the way, this is interesting, even during the Great Recession of 2008. Raleigh, I've lived in 4 states, right? Born in Canada, but left as an infant. Michigan, Ohio, Minnesota, and Texas. This is the 5th state that I've lived in, and it's the first time I've ever lived in a state capital. And for all those of you who don't live in state capitals, maybe those of you who've always lived in a state capital, I have discovered something kind of interesting, just my own unofficial survey. The capital city is treated differently than all the other cities. The legislators just seem accidentally somehow to find money, even during the worst of recessions. They seem to be able to find money to build stuff in their hometown. It's the queerest thing. That's as political as I'm going to get probably today. And you don't even know what side of that I'm on. I just think it's interesting. That's all. It is just interesting. So there's always been cranes hovering over, swinging over downtown Raleigh the entire 29 years that I've been here, including the 5 or 6 years of... Now, that doesn't mean the whole city was doing hunky-dory. Don't get me wrong. Out where we live, in fact, right around the corner from us in 2007, there was this great big subdivision going in, just houses blowing up like mushrooms. And all that came to a screeching halt, and the houses sat there for years. Just interesting story. I was a serious runner back several years during much of that time, so I was able to, take a tour of every place. And some houses were nothing more than stakes in the ground where the concrete was yet to be, footers yet to be poured. Hadn't even been started. Other houses, every stinking thing was done except like the decorative framework around the posts on the front porch. Everything else was done. Everything came to a screeching halt. Man, this. Some of us will be growing up telling our children and grandchildren what it was like, the Great Depression. I say that tongue in jest because my parents lived in the Great Depression, and as did pretty much everybody else my age. Our parents, the greatest generation, quote unquote, lived through the Great Depression, and there's no comparison. There is no comparison. Anyway, part of the reason I am using pencils at this point is because it allows all of this acrylic that I put on here, this red, orange, yellow, a little bit of purple, it allows all of that to dry. So I can continue to correct, even rectify, make corrections to my drawing, and allow this to dry. If I took another color, another glaze, which I'm anxious to do, but if I did it right now, let's say blue, I want some blue in the sky, or pink in the sky, who knows? But if I did that now, this is wet, so the blue on my brushes would pick up the wet red and produce, of course, a purple-ish color. Not necessarily a nice purple-ish color, even. But on the other hand, so this I'm teaching you about the magic of painting in transparent colors, which is different, which is unconventional, not the way most of you were taught or the way most of you paint. Most of you paint, if you're a traditional painter, you paint more or less opaque. But the rules are different when you paint in transparent colors. For instance, if I put wet blue on here, it would pick up the wet red and produce purple, right? But if I instead wait for that red to dry, so it's impervious then to anything else, that's the beauty of acrylics, and then do blue on top of it, yes, you could say I still get a sort of a purple, but I'm reluctant to say that because your eye doesn't see it so much as purple. Your eye literally sees it as blue on top of red. And if you analyze it, scratch your head and isolate it, you say, yeah, that's kind of purple. But it's much more, in other words, if I do wet on wet, it produces one layer of color. If I do wet on dry, we get 2 layers of color, a much more visually rich, much more stimulating stimulus, much more interesting visual impact if you do layers of color. Okay, now let me go ahead and say that one of the downsides of broadcasting straight from my Droid phone, which is what I'm doing right now, is that I can't, as I can with a Mevo camera, I can't stop this broadcast and then pick it up in a little while. So every time I stop a broadcast on my phone, that's the end of it. That's the end of that broadcast. And I need to start another one shortly thereafter. Or, I mean, not shortly. I need to start another one, short or long thereafter, whether it's a short time or a long time. And then people who have hit the bell on my to be alerted, sometimes they can get more alerts than they want, and then I can irritate my friends. But don't have much choice. Here's what I'm going to do. Compromise is I'm going to broadcast in spurts today. I'll do it like this, a fairly long broadcast, and then I'll hang up on you, bid you a fond adieu, and then do a second broadcast later. Now, another quick explanation just for my friends who watch me frequently, both of you. I have so many viewers, don't I? That's a joke. I'm sorry. But I'm still working on it. You'll notice I didn't call this broadcast Daily Art Adventure number 489, which in fact it is. I think because we think that that's been hurting my SEO. It's been hurting my search engine optimization. So I'm going to stop on the titles, calling it Daily Art Adventure 489, and instead I'm going to add a little more shtick to my shtick. And when I begin, I'm going to get one of those movie clappers, you know, one of those things you clap down, and it's a white marker board. I'm going to write on it Daily Art Adventure number 489, and I'll just have fun with it. We'll all find out if that's a good idea or not. I'm certainly not above hamming it up and having fun. You can probably tell that already if you watch me very often. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to continue. Yes, today is actually 489. I'm falling way off the pace the blistering pace that I set for myself in the first year and a half. But instead of putting it in the YouTube title, I'm just going to do it verbally. And I think it'll be kind of fun. It'll give me just a little more shtick, as if I needed a little more shtick, but maybe I do. And it'll help some of you. So I will, but I don't have the clapper yet. I have to, I don't know what that thing's called, whatever it's called. I don't have one yet, so I didn't do it today. But this is in fact Daily Art Adventure number 489, I think, unless I've lost track, which does happen occasionally. I've done a whole bunch of artwork this week that I'm very disappointed that I haven't broadcast, but I'll catch up. I'm probably illustrating another book, which is fun. It's fun because it gives me the opportunity to do something besides oil paintings to broadcast about, so I enjoy that in particular. And get this, a whole bunch in the last week, a whole bunch of calligraphy. That's been forever since I talked about or did any calligraphy for you guys. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I'll be showing you why am I doing calligraphy? What am I doing? That's easy. I am doing a promotional package for my wedding painting business. I'm going to be mailing out a snail mail, believe it or not, old-fashioned snail mail marketing campaign. Wow. I hope I haven't lost my marbles. I hope it's not like the stupidest thing I've done in years, because I'm spending a decent amount of money putting it together. And one of the things that I'm doing in order to, it's a 9x12 envelope with a window in front, and I'm writing the addresses of 150 of the best wedding venues in America. And I'm hoping that because I'm doing very nice, fancy copper plate script, that's fancy curlicue lettering, for those of you who don't know what copper plate is, I'm hoping that when they see their name written so nicely, that it will give them a split second of pause, and they won't deep six, they won't file 13 my promotional materials quite as fast. Then they might even open up the envelope and be amazed. Now, of course, this is all a numbers game, right? This is all, I know, not, I mean, maybe 50, maybe 80% of the packages that I put together in mail are going to go instantly into the trash can. I understand that. If it's 86%, then I'm hinging my hopes on the 14% that won't do that. Anyway, so that's what the calligraphy is. I'm doing just sort of as if I were doing a wedding invitations. You know, you've all gotten some of those nice wedding invitations, haven't you, where they paid a calligrapher to do the fancy lettering? Well, that's what I'm doing. So I'll be glad to show you that, and I'm anxious to show you my book illustration. I'm inventing a new technique, playing around, I should say, not inventing, playing around with a new technique for this book illustration. It's a story of a young man who grew up just before the Civil War. He was a Confederate Civil War hero, and then after the war became a businessman, and he's now in South Carolina. His company is one of the large companies in South Carolina, and we're hoping that actually one of his descendant companies will pay for the book. So we'll find out. It's fun. So the illustrations to me feel a lot like Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer. So I'm doing them in what I feel like is a Huck Finn, Tom Sawyer technique. But I'll show you that. Okay, I'm going to stop this long meandering broadcast right here. I'm going to give this a few more minutes to dry, and then I'll do some glazes on top of that, and I'll bring you guys back in when I'm a little bit down the road. Thanks for watching.